everybody, and welcome to another live stream on Expert Examiner IELTS. Joining me today is a very special guest. We have Tutor AF Arina Fadeva. Arina, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I hope we're live because many times I think I'm live, but I'm not actually live. So can somebody in the chat just let me know that we are live? There is a little bit of a delay, so we'll wait for some of those messages. While we're waiting for those messages to come in, some people watching might be your followers, Arina, and they might not be very familiar with me, so I'll just introduce myself very quickly. My name is Glyn, and I'm from Wales in the UK. I work as an English language teacher online. I'm also a materials designer, so I make a lot of lessons for content-based language teaching. And as many people know, I'm an examiner. I work on a number of different exams, whether that's competency exams or achievement exams with different kinds of people. Some of them are face-to-face, some of them are recorded. But yeah, I've been doing examining for about 12 years. And like many people, you come on the internet and you see the advice that's being given and you think, oh, that's a little bit strange. So I decided to set up my YouTube channel a year and a half ago, focusing on IELTS, since, it's the biggest English language test. And I've been doing this now for about a year and a half, which is a lot of fun. I do a lot of mock speaking tests and writing checks and things like this, just showing people how I, as an examiner, break down people's language. That's me in short, but perhaps, Arina, maybe some of my followers might not be that familiar with who you are. So can I ask you also to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you for having me once again. I'm Arina Fadeva, and I've been teaching English for a long time, I guess for 20 years now. But I've been focusing on IELTS for 14 years. So I took my first IELTS back in 2012 because I had one student who wanted to take the test, and I was like, I don't know anything about this test. I have to take it. And then I fell in love. And at that time, there was no Instagram whatsoever. And the band descriptors were just PDF copies, black and white, not red like now. So all I had were these copies, IELTS Simon website, that's it. And I took my IELTS test and I got 8 for speaking. That's just because I was answering all the questions and I had some language exposure. I was working in America and I was traveling back and forth. So, and since then, I've been preparing students for IELTS with this in mind, that you have to answer the questions. No crazy vocab, no nothing. But with Instagram and TikTok, just expanding all over the world, it has become very difficult to teach students now, and I've been fighting for just adequacy when it comes to IELTS teaching. So that's it. I've been just focusing on IELTS writing and speaking, and I mostly work with B2 high and C1 IELTS teachers as well, and high-level students mostly. Yeah.
I've actually had speaking tests with quite a few of your students, actually. I think 3 or 4, a few people who are associated with you.
Yeah.
All very, very strong candidates. But an interesting thing I discovered is that many of those candidates got lower scores in their speaking tests. There were some of them, one I awarded a 9, another one 8.5, another one 8 or something like that. And I think the one I awarded 8.5 to was that's probably a 9. And then I discovered that one person got 6.5, and it's
yes,
that is, any idea why that might happen?
Well, everyone can panic, and it's it's a test. Sometimes candidates have very good language skills, but examiners are also they have to assess what they hear right now, right here in the moment. And my student said, yeah, I panicked. I'm an anxious person. And my anxiety just reached a peak when she was taking the test, and then the topic was very boring, and she was tired from the flight. And yeah, And I first I didn't believe her. I was like, yeah, we have to go for an EOR to remark the test. And yeah, we did so.
Mhm.
And the band score remained. So, and then I wanted to just to leave this job. I wanted to quit IELTS. But thank you for your assessment, because it's more about um, well, it's also about self-esteem. When these candidates get lower scores just because they panicked, their self-esteem just like is ruined. And thank you for just getting it back, because I always go for a second opinion when, of course, these are my students. Of course, as a teacher, I want to give them higher scores, but they might
Mhm.
sound different in the exam room, right? So that's why sometimes I go for a second opinion, and yeah, so we should
Yeah.
practice more speaking in stressful conditions.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's a huge issue, and I think it's something people aren't really, or oftentimes they aren't really prepared for it. Just understanding what happens to your body when you're under this amount of
Yeah.
stress. That's why I really like these mock speaking tests. That they give people. Some people feel really nervous about being recorded or coming on a live stream, and I think it's a great way of practicing speaking under stress, because during the test you're going to be, people will be under stress and they need to understand how they can hold it together. Sometimes people ask me that, like, I get very nervous, what can I do in the test? And so I don't know. But anyway, there are so many different things connected to IELTS that we could speak about, but the one that we've chosen to speak about and focus on today is vocabulary. I will start by asking you a couple of questions about vocabulary, and the first one is absolutely horrible. It's the worst question I could possibly imagine. How important is vocabulary when it comes to not just IELTS, but language learning in general, or using language?
Well, it's very important, because we use words to express our feelings. We have to deal with different situations, and you never know what happens if you go abroad and something terrible happens. You have to go to the hospital. You have to know a lot of stuff to explain yourself. Then, if you're studying, you have to be familiar with academic language. If you are just, having fun and going to bars and going out all the time, you have to know how to socialize, because small talk is a big thing in the West compared to Russia, for example. So it's important to interact with people in different situations and be understood, and also to have this ability to understand what is being said. So yeah, words are like this is a skeleton for language. So we can't live without bones. So I guess this is a metaphor for vocab. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. I don't know. Grammar, vocab, which one is the skeleton? Maybe they're both the skeleton.
Both.
Yeah. When it so like both of us are English teachers, right? And when it comes to teaching grammar, there's one of the most common ways of doing it is something called PPP, where you kind of present the language and then you practice and then you produce. And it's kind of easy to understand from a teacher's point of view how you can get your students to use appropriate grammar. So you say, like, okay, this is the formula or this is the construction, right? Like with second conditional, we use if plus past simple, then we use a would clause, and then students can put that together in their brain and they go, okay, if I knew, I would tell you. So very often with grammar, that's what we're doing. Not always, but very often that's what we're doing. We're explaining to our students the structure of the grammar and then getting them to use it. How is teaching vocab different, or is it different?
It is. So it's all about meaning, form, and appropriacy. And well, students have to kind of touch the word in different contexts. They have to hear it, notice it, see it in some texts or articles, then write it, then produce it in speaking spontaneously. Because a lot of students ask me, like, do I have to learn 100 words to, to go from B2 to C1. And I'm like, it doesn't work like that. Your brain has to just work with this chunk, not only just a single word, but a chunk, and you should understand in which context it is being used. So it's a long process, and we can't trick our brain, unfortunately. And people want everything right here, right now, in a minute, one lesson, boom, you are C1. It doesn't
Hmm.
work like that. So it takes, I guess, it takes more time, and students have to notice, to develop noticing skills. Okay. It's not like you have a list of words and you just learn them by heart. In some Russian universities, like I was that student. So yeah, it was like that. But in reality, what helped me was exposure. So I went to America. I was working there. I was interacting with people, and I realized that what I was doing for 4 years at university was was something different. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen, I'm gonna read, I'm gonna learn new words, and I'm gonna unlearn everything I had learned before. So it was like that. So guys, be patient. Remember that words don't exist like just one word. They come with something in the family, and then everything should be appropriate. Turning to registers, yes, sometimes the level of formality is this, sometimes you should sound informal, because it all depends in which situation you interact with people. You're talking to your friends, or you are talking to your university professor or your employer, for example.
Well,
Yeah.
I very much agree with that, like holistic approach to language learning, both with grammar and vocabulary. Many textbooks, of course, try to segment it into different parts. Like, okay, here's a bunch of words connected to health, or here's a bunch of words connected to crime and punishment, and things like this. Um, I don't know if language can be forced that way. I think we acquire languages, but certainly there are some people that like to do those lists, and they, especially when it comes to IELTS, they kind of
Yeah.
prepare for topics. Where does that leave us as teachers? Can we, like, if a student comes to us and says, "I want to increase my vocabulary," what could we do with those students?
I mean, this approach could be helpful when it comes to be too low, when it's like a 6.5 up to 7. Yeah, sometimes this may work. And it's easier for them to produce this language when they are being asked about hobbies, traveling, music, and so on. They have topic specific vocabulary. It's a little bit easier. But when it comes to 7.5, 8, and 9, oh my God, it should be a little bit different. And there is no one size fits all solution in this case. We should just look at what people have right now and then work with this. Sometimes we have to unlearn a lot. Sometimes we have to, um, yeah, that's very difficult, to, when it comes to exams, we have to break their system. They've been taught, or maybe no one ever told them before, that it was a mistake and so on. Don't speak like that. This is a mistake, fossilized errors and all that kind of stuff. But it's very hard to do this when they have 2 months before the exam. Exam is like everything should be like in a dictionary.
Hmm.
It's not life. Sometimes it's okay to make mistakes because, I mean, in life, they know that you are a foreign student, you are a foreign employee, so it's okay. But when it comes to exams and higher scores, everything should be super accurate um, and used in the right context readily and flexibly like that. So if they ask you, they want spontaneous answers. And sometimes students, oh my God, I'm digressing from the question.
It's okay.
What's the question? About
Yeah,
problems with.
what does it, where does it leave us if we understand that vocab and language in general is something that has to be acquired naturally and generally through exposure? What can we do with our students who want better
uh,
vocabularies?
Well, I was working with those who are already sevens and 7.5s. I was actually looking at their strong features. Sometimes it's pronunciation, sometimes it's fluency. When it comes to vocab, I would take articles and YouTube videos and combine this language, like saying that C articles are better for writing because the level of formality there is good for writing, or in some cases, speaking part three,
Hmm.
depending on the topic. For part one, you need to watch something like Vogue 73 questions when celebrities are being asked about their life, their home, and so on. um, then I also give them different podcasts, interviews, and so on, or maybe some videos about um, shopping, about people, like interviews in the street right here, right now. And these are spontaneous answers. This is like, I also like watching TV shows, but all the speech is scripted. We need spontaneous answers, and that's why all the interviews, even online, I mean on Instagram, there are so many channels about life and choices and what makes you confident and show me your house, something like that. So this is very good for part one exposure, but part one style questions exposure. And yeah, in long interviews like the Diary of CEO, these are probably better for speaking part three, because what I like about scientists is that they always give very clear answers. There are two reasons for this. First of all, secondly, that's
Hmm.
it. Really nice. Yeah. So actually, what I've been doing, I've been using authentic materials and then adapting them for a student's level. And since they already have very strong vocabulary, well, we mentioned that crime, today we have a lesson on crime, tomorrow we have a lesson on this. So, like, they all have this. And so I'm trying to give them kind of more freedom, more flexibility, because in IELTS, all topics are connected, people, relationship, communication. So it all comes to this, and like trends, agenda. Yeah.
And
So,
you mentioned social media a few times there. Obviously, it's great now that there are so many resources out there. However, one probably like me, sometimes you watch some social media, especially the stuff that rises to the top. Things like use these 10 synonyms to score a band 9 in IELTS. I have a like I'm subscribed to IELTS Advantages mailing list, and they sent me one recently. They sent me an email recently saying you can use these synonyms, but you can't use these synonyms. And it's like, who gives you the authority to say which? Like, you can't use multitudes in IELTS. That was one of the things. It's like, okay, I kind of understand maybe people use that wrong. How do you feel about the rise of, especially short form content like TikTok, Instagram? Is it helpful or is it a hindrance?
oh my God. Thank you for asking me. Yeah, um we should bear in mind that TikTok and Instagram, these are the platforms which are led by algorithms. And the more views they get, the more likes, shares, reshares they get, the better for the creator. So, guys, this is all marketing. So it's very misleading. It's very confusing. Most of the time, people who claim this, they haven't taken the test, or they have taken the test, but their scores are somewhat seven-ish, maybe in speaking. I'm not saying that it's bad or that it's not really good, but you can't give advice for people if you are not at that level, if you haven't experienced this yet. So, and a lot of people who are at 6.57 in IELTS speaking, for example, it's very easy to trick their minds and tell them, okay, don't say interesting, say breathtaking, and then you're going to get an 8. So they believe this, and unfortunately they go take the test, they say breathtaking 10 times, and they don't get an 8. And then they think, okay, I was marked down, something happened, examiners are all awful. But the thing is that this is like a cognitive bias, right? So our brain wants to make something like, we want to lose weight, for example, tomorrow. We want a six pack tomorrow. Yes, it it won't work. Same here. It's impossible to to replace words with synonyms and then get a high score. It doesn't work like that because they look at your. Oh, by the way, I'll ask you this, okay? I have a problem. A lot of students watch TikToks and Instagram Reels. They follow a lot of TikTok teachers who claim this. In terms of vocabulary, they say use juicy vocabulary, stop using bad, use something like atrocious. Um, and students who are B2, they do this as an examiner. How helpful is this? Because I try to explain this. A lot of students don't believe me, and they say, "No, that's not true." And then I say, "Okay, you can work with your TikTok teachers, not me.
Hmm.
Please tell them." Like, what do you think of this?
Yeah. So, the short answer is it's not a good way to improve. That isn't going to. And I'll give an example of this. Right. So, let's say you have like someone who's a B1 user of English, and they know how to say things like, "I like horror movies because they are interesting." Quite a short response using quite basic vocabulary. For me, there's nothing wrong with saying, "I like horror movies because they are interesting." What we want after that then is to go into that topic in more detail. Rather than, I always make the point that B1s can tell me that something is interesting, C1s can explain to me why something is interesting. And that requires vocab. What a typical B1 might do, or a TikTok teacher might advise, is to say, well, instead of saying "I like horror movies," change "like" to "adore." I adore, and instead of saying horror movies, let's say, instead of movies, let's say cinematography. And instead of horror, let's say terrifying. And so they say, well, I adore terrifying cinematography. And instead of because, Arina, we're going to use owing to. I adore terrifying cinematography owing to it is absolutely fascinating. This does not improve the answer. It might show some range. It's good that somebody knows adore. It's good that somebody knows fascinating. That's still a band 5 answer. If that's your
It
answer,
doesn't make sense. I mean,
it's
these are just words put together.
and
Yeah.
that's the problem that we have, is that people, they're almost like, we had there was a show on MTV called Pimp My Ride, right? Where someone took their old
Yeah, I
car
know.
and
Yeah,
they kind
yeah.
of decorated
And
it up and made it better.
mhm.
And I think people try to do that with their existing communicative repertoire. They look at the language that they can use, and then they try to use fancier words because they think they will impress the examiner. Now, I speak from my own perspective. I will say many examiners are different. Some examiners unfortunately are not very good, and some of them are very, very good. But I would say that an examiner that's doing their job properly will see exactly what you are doing, and they will not be impressed. Why? Because, the 10 people before you did exactly the same thing. And a lot of the language that lower level learners use is kind of generic, and it can be used to talk about anything. I like X because X is interesting. And it doesn't matter if you use a fancier version of like or a fancier version of interesting. If your approach is, I like something because something is interesting, it's not going to give you good marks for fluency and coherence, and it's not going to give you good marks for vocabulary. You have to go into topics into more detail than that. So those TikTok videos of like, use these synonyms, don't use bad, use this instead of interesting. It's an awful approach to hacking, because everyone thinks that they can hack the IELTS speaking test. You can't. It's a proficiency test, right? It's just someone that knows the English language, will listen to you using English, and will understand what your level is. You can't cheat them. You can't hack them. You can't impress them by saying, I'm from St. Petersburg. It is the Venice of the North, and I used to teach like that. I remember teaching people for CAE a long time ago and saying like, oh, maybe you could use that and impress the examiner. But no, when I started working as an examiner, it's like, everyone's using the same generic language. I see.
Once in a blue moon, it's not my cup of tea. Yeah, been there, done that. Yeah, so, but students look at me like that. I say, don't use this. There's nothing wrong with it's not my cup of tea. But imagine examiners that they every second candidate would use this, and it looks like a red flag. Um, it slipped my mind. I wanted to, yeah, something again. I wanted to ask you something. Um, okay, so I'll ask you later.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask if there's anything else you want to ask me as an examiner, specifically connected to vocabulary in IELTS.
About impressing the examiner, okay? Because I keep seeing this word everywhere, even those people who call themselves IELTS trainers, IELTS coaches, IELTS teachers, they put this on their Instagram stories and say, you should impress the examiner. But what I usually say to my students, and I give this example. For example, you're going to get your driver's license and you're taking the test. So you're driving, you have to let the pedestrians, and like stop before the traffic light and so on. Do we impress the police officer there? He's like just doing his job, okay? He's ticking all the, boxes. Did you do this? Examiners are doing their jobs, okay? So is this true? Do we have to impress anyone there? It's like,
The things that many people think will impress an examiner are not what you think. I would say, wear clean clothes, don't smell, don't have racist or homophobic views, don't bring anything too controversial. Try to, like, I tested someone called Shukufa, who I gave a band 9 to. Certainly,
she's great.
she's
Yeah,
amazing.
absolutely nice.
And she
Yeah,
mentioned that her approach was like, not I'm going to be a candidate in a test, but I'm going to speak to someone who is interested in what I have to say. And I think that's just the approach that people should take.
great.
If you say it's raining cats and dogs, it's not going to impress me at all. If you tell me that you were named after your great uncle something, that's not going to impress me. I just want you to answer the questions and let me assess your language skills. And if you're risky with vocabulary and some of the risks don't work, leave that to me to decide what your language is. And I would also tell candidates not to repeat vocab. Sometimes I get the impression that
Yes.
candidates feel like they're worried that I'm missing what they're saying, and so they repeat the vocab because they think it's good. And it's like, no, I'll trust me to assess your language. But no, most examiners are not. Yeah, we don't. But I don't know. But what does it mean to impress the examiner? Like, Am I going to go to the supermarket and impress the cashier? Like by
Yes,
what am I?
exactly. I think I think it all again, like all this um, Lucy vocab. This is like the expression of my colleague. She's an amazing teacher, Anna. Hi, if you're watching. So she also she doesn't like this expression, juicy vocab, and she says like everything should be appropriate. Everything should be. If you are asked about bags, just talk about bags like a normal person. Don't use something extraordinary, right? Because like I think it also like we as linguists and English teachers, we love English. We love learning new words and we love to discover different ways to express this and that. Okay, let's leave it in our life. This is our hobby. Don't bring this to IELTS. IELTS is a little bit different. It's like it's green lighting you to like if you're eligible or not just to interact in another country, you are a foreign student and that's it, or a foreign employee or an immigrant and so on. It's not like a linguistic contest, right? If you were doing something like creative writing, yeah, do this,
Mhm.
but not in IELTS. Okay.
Yeah,
So
a couple of times we've kind of touched on this aspect of register about like how formal and how formal
yes.
should we be, and I always say like there was a I forgot who said it, but it's like in IELTS, speak like you're speaking to someone who you've met like in a bar, but you're speaking to them for the first time. And when you're speaking to like a friend of a friend, think of it like that. Use language that you'd use with a friend of a friend, which means you're not going to swear, you're not going to say anything too controversial, but you're also
Yeah.
not going to be super formal. And I don't understand why people think, certainly in part three, there is scope for developing answers because you're talking about more abstract topics. Naturally, you will use, slightly higher register. But part one, we want to keep things simple. We want to use human language. We want to use natural language. We don't want to use something like and not overly flowery or like ships that pass in the night. Like, who do you get on with best in your family? Oh, I don't see my family members very often. We are like ships that pass in the night. And it's like, why are we using that phrase, or why are we speaking so? Sometimes you ask people where they're from, and it sounds like a brochure. It sounds like a description, a
Like
flowery
the
description.
Wikipedia page.
Yeah, promoting it, like located on the river of blah blah blah. It is perfectly situated to enjoy the breathtaking views, and it's like when I did a speaking test with the former IELTS examiner, my colleague Ben, and I asked him like, "Do you work or do you study?" I work. It's like bad line.
Fine answer. Yes, exactly. Yes, and yeah, just to add a little example from my experience, once I like we had maybe 1 month, but this was a C1 student. She was studying at the Czech Republic, and she said like, I need to take the test immediately. Like, would you just navigate me through all the writing and speaking? And like she got 8.5 for her speaking, and when she was like recording voice messages to me after the test, and she said, I didn't say anything extra. I was just talking to her. I why is this 8.5? Like it's too much. She thought it was too much for her. I said because everything was appropriate and you were talking like you were talking in a real situation. You didn't, you know, overcomplicated. Yeah, and a lot of people, you're right, they think that in IELTS you should give smart answers. You are
Hmm.
not being assessed on how smart. I mean, when it comes to 8 and 9, yes, but not in part 1, okay? Let's put it like this. Yeah, and she was like, I didn't say anything crazy. I didn't use any fancy words." And I said, "That's why you got 8.5." Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
There's a huge. I really need to make a video on this. I think the difference between an achievement test and a proficiency test. Now, sometimes we have achievement tests, like in a
Oh.
textbook or something, where it's like, okay, tell a story and use past simple, past continuous, past perfect continuous. That would be like an achievement test, and you have a list of things that, okay, you tick that off. Yes, they use that. Yes, they use that. IELTS isn't that. It's not
Mhm.
you need to use inversion, you need to use third conditional, you need to use this grammar, that grammar, you need to use cleft sentences. No, it's a proficiency test. It measures your ability to use English, in the speaking part, spontaneously about familiar and less familiar topics. And that's all it is. Can you use appropriate language? The examiner will understand what your level is. It isn't something, unfortunately, and people want it to be, but it isn't something that can be hacked. You can't. One of my favorite things is in South Asia, like in India and Bangladesh, they have a lot of videos which are prediction videos about what topics are going to come up. And then
Yes.
people start scripting answers based on this. In Vietnam, it's a huge problem. I remember about 6 months ago, I tested, like, I awarded a mark 0, not with IELTS, with a different test. I awarded a mark of 0 for about 10 candidates in a row because there was a Facebook group connected to this test and everyone had memorized the same answers. They were not connected to the topic, but they were full of this language. And I had to just award 0, 0, 0, 0. And I hated doing it. I really, really hated doing it. But people treat it like it's that type of test that you can hack, that you can prepare for, that you can script, and it really, really isn't.
It's
Um,
harsh.
I,
0.
yeah, but we had to, because we, like, as an examiner, this is the stuff that I've probably got most training on: spotting memorized language and the official guidance. With some, it can be different from test to test, but with some tests, and just using fully scripted is justification to award 0. And if I award anything higher than a 0, that's then on me. Like, it's I could be then told off of, like, what were you doing? Why did you award this mark of
Yeah.
3 instead of a 0? It's clearly scripted. So, we don't like doing it, but it's our job. And for the
Yeah.
integrity of the exam, for the integrity of, the profession, we have to award the marks that we have to award. And that's it. But yeah, it is harsh. I could probably talk to you for hours and hours and hours about just
Yeah, let's.
vocabulary. Um,
Yeah.
I could certainly talk for hours about the difference between a band 8 and a band 9, for example, with vocabulary, but I won't, because I'm sure many of the viewers kind of want to join us and to get up and to show us that they can follow the advice that we've given. And to summarize the advice, I would say in part 1 of the IELTS speaking test, we're looking only for appropriate responses. Part 1 will not determine your final mark. Of course, part 2 and part 3, you have an opportunity to use more. We're looking for natural language. We're looking for human language. I want to see and I want to hear a person. I don't want to hear a candidate. Think of it like watching a movie. When you're watching a movie, you don't want to be watching an actor. You want to be watching a character. You want to feel that character, not, oh, that's interesting that the actor used this technique. That's not what we're looking for. We want humans to do human things with language in a natural way. So we are going to invite some candidates on. We're going to invite some people from my Telegram channel, some people from your Telegram channel. What should we start with first? Do you want to go with someone from your channel or from my channel?
Yeah, I think your channel,
Okay.
okay, because I've just posted, yeah, that
Mhm.
you want to
Um,
join us.
I'm going to post on mine too. So for those of you watching, for those of you who survived the 38 minutes of discussion, I'm now going to post in my Telegram channel. If you'd like to join us on the stream to answer some part 1 questions,
Oh, Nur Sultan wants.
reply to this message. That's cool. We'll invite Nur Sultan, so you can invite Nur Sultan on. I've put a message in my Telegram chat. I will select 2 people from there after Nur Sultan, but we'll start with Nur Sultan, I guess.
Yeah, okay. So 1 second. So I should send them as him the Zoom link, right?
Yeah, the Zoom link.
Yeah.
While you're doing
And
that,
okay. Uh-huh.
I'll just take a look at the chat to see if there are any interesting messages in there. Yanwei Dong, I feel if you want to get 7 above, you have to showcase some phrases, verbs, and common words and idiomatic expressions. No, you do not need to use idiomatic expressions. In the band description, in the band descriptors, it's written that you have to use idiomatic language. That is not the same as idiomatic expressions, right? That's not my cup of tea, like ships passing in the night. Idiomatic language can be anything from a phrasal verb. I want to turn the TV down. It can also be things like as long as or as far as. Those are bits of idiomatic language. If you look at the dictionary definition of idiomatic, it just says like it's language that is suitable or that sounds like native speaker speech. That's all it means. Chunks of language that are used naturally together. There is a difference between what people think of as an idiomatic expression, a frozen flowery phrase, and idiomatic language in the linguistic sense. So for Yanwei Dong, you've misunderstood that band descriptor for, because I've seen it in band 7, it says idiomatic language and band 8 and 9, but that doesn't mean using flowery idiomatic phrases. It really, really, really doesn't. It has a different meaning in linguistics. Anyway, Nur Sultan is here. Hopefully the screen will be okay. It is. Hi, Nur Sultan. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah,
Cool. Are you excited to be joining us?
I am very.
Do you know Arina?
Yeah. I've actually been on her academic writing course, and we've worked for quite some time. Yeah.
For those people who don't know you, can you just give us some information about yourself? Like, where are you from and what are your plans regarding IELTS?
Hello, everyone. I guess people are watching on YouTube. My name is Nur Sultan. I'm from Kazakhstan. Right now, I'm completing the second year of my internship in medical school, and I am hoping to continue my training in the UK. So that's why I need 7.5 in writing section. So yeah, that's where I'm heading to right now.
So I can already hear that you're a very high-level user of English. Certainly, I haven't decided if you're C1 or C2 yet. You said you want to get 7.5 in the writing part. How do you feel about your speaking, and specifically, how do you feel about your use of vocabulary in English?
It really depends. Like the performance is very different every time. The very first time when I took IELTS was like I didn't know anything about IELTS. One day there was one language center that opened in our city, and they were providing like a mock test. So I didn't know anything, and me and my friend, we just went there. So I just answered the questions. The very first time it was like in 2022. So I got an 8 for speaking. And after that, I wasn't able to kind of break the score. Like I couldn't get 8.5. Yeah. So the high score I got was 8.
If you want 8.5, use breathtaking instead of interesting, and automatically you'll get 8.5. I'm so glad you're laughing. I'm so glad. Sorry, Arina, I've taken over the conversation. Do you want to say hello to Nur Sultan?
Yeah, hi. Long time no see. I mean, yeah, we did one speaking test with Nur Sultan, and like I told him, like it was amazing, and he's a medical student, so he knows how to approach approach questions in part 3. He goes like, there are 2 problems. One of them is that, another one, very good. No rambling, no just, digressing from the question. Very good. But yeah, I think we all get nervous when it comes to the real test. And the main problem is, yeah, just, pulling yourself together before the test. And now I think it's a great chance for you to speak under pressure.
Yeah,
I'm
I
nervous
am
now
kind of
too.
nervous.
All right. So we're going to throw some speaking part 1 questions at you. Afterwards, we'll then give some feedback. I'll give you an appropriate appropriate score for your vocabulary. All the feedback that we give will be about vocabulary. Sometimes things might connect a little bit to grammar or fluency and coherence a little bit, but we'll try to stick to vocabulary. Arina, do you want to be the person who asks the questions first, or do you want to ask the questions for the next candidate?
Yeah, I'm a little bit biased when it comes to assessing because I already know this candidate. Maybe I can ask the questions and you will assess.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
sure. Okay.
Great.
So mm, let's first of all talk about where you live. Where do you live?
Right now, I live in Astana, which is the capital of Kazakhstan.
What do you like most about living in this place?
Um, I think the pace of life, and because a lot of people here are focused on their careers more than focusing on something else. And as a person is very career driven, so that's why I really like the place and the mindset of the people that are here.
All right. And is there anything that you would like to change about this place?
Um, I wish we could have like some subways because usually it gets really slammed like in this rush hours in the morning. And because I'm a medical student, we have a lot of different hospitals that we rotate in. So every morning I have to do like a very, very, very big journey so to the hospital that I'm rotating at. So sometimes you can be late for those because of the traffic jam. So I wish we could have some new subway lines. Yeah.
Okay. And do you think you will continue living in this place in the future?
Right now I'm actually like on the fence about this. Maybe like this year I'm graduating, so I'm gonna apply for several programs here in Kazakhstan, and also I'm gonna apply for several programs in Europe and in Asia. So depending on where I like, depending on the letters that I get, I will get. Maybe I will continue living here for the next few years, or maybe I will move to Europe or Asia. Yeah, so I'm not really sure, like, if I want to stay here in Kazakhstan, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's move on and talk about friends. Do you have a lot of friends?
Um, I do have a lot of friends, but recently I actually had a conversation with one of my friends about this, like, who can you consider a friend? So I like, even if I met the person once, I call them a friend. So that's why I think I have a lot of friends, but some people might say that I only have like one or two close, real close friends.
Hmm. And what do you like doing with your friends?
I just hanging out, and doing anything at this point. Like we are so, uh, I think at this point of life, a lot of people are so career driven and they don't want to waste their time. And a lot of people, when they are hanging out, they consider it a waste of time.
Oh.
So doing whatever with my friends is actually like something I would like to do.
Okay. And do you still keep in touch with your old school friends?
Yeah, I actually like we had a very small class of people when I graduated from school. It was considered like comparing to the other schools in Kazakhstan. It was a relatively small group of people, and I am still in touch with almost like all of them.
Okay. Let's move on and talk about numbers. Do you have a favorite number?
I do. It's 11.
Why is that?
I was born on 11th of December. Also, 11 was the number of a player, like a football player, my favorite football player. Also, there are some things that are connected with 11 that are a little bit private, but also the number 1111 is also an angel number, which means like a new beginning, a new life. So I find this number very, like, it has a lot of meanings, a lot of interpretations for me. So that's why I like it.
Okay. And are you good at remembering numbers?
I think I am pretty good. I have a very because you are like because I'm in medicine, you have to keep in mind like a lot of numbers and a lot of lab values, and you just I don't know if even if you think that you don't remember them when you are like when you hear something and you are writing it down, it like comes to you naturally. So
Okay. And did you enjoy mathematics when you were younger?
I like in Kazakhstan, there is a system when the like at the certain grade, the mathematics it divides into geometry and algebra. I didn't like algebra, but I liked very much the geometry part. And also, even in high school, like 10th, 11th grade, which are the the last 2 years of high school education here, the teachers, I was really bad at algebra. The teachers would take me to the Olympiads to just solve the geometry part of the Olympiad. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And do you think you will need to use numbers in your future work?
Yeah, like right now we are using a lot of numbers because there are a lot of formulas that you have to use in medicine. For example, if a person has an injured kidney, you have to like calculate the certain things depending on the certain lab values. So you have to be good with numbers. And a lot of the times you don't really have the calculator on your hand, so you have to just do the math in your hand.
And what about the future?
In the future, yeah, as well. Like I'm gonna continue working in medicine, so probably yeah, I'm gonna use math.
Right. Thank you. This is the end of the test.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. How do you feel about the questions, Nur Sultan? Were they easy for you? Were any of the topics particularly surprising or difficult?
But they weren't surprising or difficult. I just know so like there is a little bit of analyzing when it comes to like
Yeah.
hearing your own answers. There were some places where I slipped, so I was like, "Damn, I did that." So yeah, so
Can you
yeah, I
be?
was like trying to hide this. Yeah.
I know it's really tough, but can you think of any specific examples where you did that, like overthinking or over analyzing?
I think the very when was it? About like when Arina asked me about if I want to live here, like if I want to continue living here in Astana, I just overanalyzed it a little bit. I kind of deviated from the question, so I was like, yeah, I didn't quite answer the question. I said like it doesn't really depend on me. So,
You
but yeah,
said I'm on the fence about
Hmm.
this. I think it's pretty good. Like you're on the fence. Yes.
okay,
You haven't made up your mind. Yeah, it's okay. You were clear about this. I'm on the fence. Yeah.
Yeah, a nice
Okay, very
example.
appropriate.
A
Yeah.
nice example of appropriate idiomatic language,
Yes.
like on the fence. That's
Mhm.
really nice. Even things like hangout is idiomatic. I mentioned that
Correct.
because the person in the chat said we need to use idioms, and I didn't notice you using idioms, which I hate it when people try to force idioms, but you use a lot of really good natural idiomatic language on the fence. Even things like lab values, I really liked that type of vocab. You mentioned pace of life, and you mentioned career driven twice. Now, I wouldn't say that's a huge problem, but when we're trying to understand the difference between like nines, eights, and sevens, we often think about like, does the candidate have preferred lexical sets? Now, a lexical set is just a group of words that are used together, and I'm wondering whether career driven is a preferred lexical set. Band 9 speakers, users of English, they don't have noticeable preferred sets. I can't say for sure if that is a preferred one, and using something twice is fine, no problem with it, but I'm just thinking a little bit about that. Across the three topics, I definitely felt like numbers, when you're talking about numbers, that was the one where it seemed like band 9. And then the other two felt a little bit more 80. I do think that you have a little bit of a problem, not a problem, but like you mentioned, over analyzing things. Do you have a lot of friends? Oh, I had a conversation about what does it mean to have a friend, and it's like you might what might happen there is you might have a slight loss of coherence. The examiner might be just thinking, well, are they answering the question? And I always think it's easier to be stupid. And sometimes I think, like, what would Homer Simpson say? And he would say, yeah, I have a lot of friends. My best friend is Barney. We often go to the pub together. And it's like, oh, well done, Homer Simpson, rather than, what does it mean? As the great Goethe said in Faust, to have a friend means to... And I don't think you do too much of that, but sometimes in high pressure situations, if we are smart people, we can do this over analysis, and that can lead us into problems with fluency. In terms of vocab, you're a great user of English, right? You're really, really strong. I would be, in part one, I'm always putting people in categories. I'm locking in like floors and ceilings. So if this was a real test, I would say that your floor is an 8 and your ceiling is a 9. And then I would be interested in part 2 and part 3 to see if you can sustain that. Probably closer to the 8 for vocabulary, but, a really solid performance with vocab in part 2 and part 3, and you would be really close to that 9 in vocab. Those are just some of my quick thoughts. I don't know, Arina, if you have anything to add there.
Yeah, same thing about career driven 2 times. It's not bad, but I mean it's not a high frequency. It's not a word that we use on a regular basis, and you used it like very close to each other, and examiners will definitely pick up on that. Yeah, so it's okay, but it happens to high level students. They would use maybe their favorite words over and over again, not showing flexibility. Okay, but sometimes they don't even notice this because these are their favorite words, and that's okay. I mean, I liked slammed. I think it's American, yeah. So yeah. um Yeah, I like the answer about your favorite number, 11, and then you said, well, this is a little bit private. I think it's a very natural response to questions like that. And yeah, overall, I agree that it's an 8, but we should see part 2, part 3. Yeah, but yeah, nothing to add.
One thing I
Yeah.
forgot to mention was at the beginning you spoke about the pace of life. And then you said, because people are career driven, but you didn't mention that, it was a fast pace of life. And so I was expecting, when you mentioned that you like the pace of life, I think you said that you like the pace of life there. I was hoping you'd go into more details about, is it fast? Is it a fast pace of life? Again, I'm very pedantic with that. But I felt like the explanation saying that people are career driven, there is underlying coherence. I can work out that you mean when people are career driven, that means that the pace of life is faster. But I didn't see that logical connection between those 2 points. That's more of a fluency and coherence issue, but there is a lot of overlap there. I know it's difficult when you just have part 1 questions, but
Yes.
what do you think about the feedback, Nur Sultan? And maybe you have specific questions for Arina or for myself.
No, like everything totally makes sense, and also about the career-driven. Just it's also again about the overanalyzing, because I was keep in mind that's part 1. You don't have to give a answering for a whole minute for one question. I was like, I have to short my answer, and I cut myself off. Yeah, so yeah, that's what usually happens on the real exam also. And the last time, again, yeah, for the fluency and coherence in speaking, I got 7 and 8s for all the other criteria. So yeah, that's basically the same feedback that I got from you. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see no reason to be totally 9 focused. I know some people are obsessed with getting the 9. IELTS doesn't really, I mean, it does determine your English language level, maybe, but really to get a 9, I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. Some people really, really, really want the 9. If you're a Band 8 user of English or Band 8.5, you can do absolutely everything and anything you want in that language. And for me, pushing to get that 9, if you said to me, if you were my student and you said to me, I want to get the 9, what can we do? I would say find a different teacher. You don't need a 9. Unless you need a 9 for a specific reason, don't bother. You can do everything you need to do in the language. Go and enjoy the language. Do other things that are not connected to exams. Go and do debates. Go and write your papers. Go and communicate with your patients and things like this. Yeah, you've your level is super high. And also other things like your grammar, your pronunciation, your development. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you got an 8.5 in the speaking test. I don't think you'll get 9, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much
Your
for
English is
having me. Yeah.
amazing. That's all I got to say. Yeah, like
Takes one to
yeah,
know one. Yeah.
I get nervous all the time. Like I know what it feels like. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it's there. It's there. 8.5 is there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
When are you taking the test?
I haven't booked the test yet. But I'm not really sure because I already have like 2 certificates that are valid. So I
Okay.
don't really need an IELTS right now. But you
Okay.
know,
So
yeah, so maybe in a couple of months.
Cool. Well, let us know. Let us know how you get on. I'm always interested to see what people get. Floor of 8. Anything less than an 8, and it's a disappointment. Yeah, just relax. Be a human. Answer questions in a human way. You'll get a minimum of 8. You might get the 8.5.
yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very
yeah,
much.
All right.
yeah.
Really nice to meet you, Nur Sultan. We'll go, I guess, with the next candidate. Unless you have any final questions or any final comments.
No questions. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a
Yeah.
lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. I guess I'll go to nice guy. Very friendly, very
Yeah,
smart.
yeah. He's really nice. Yeah. I mean, he got 7.888 for his speaking test. So when he got 7.5 overall for speaking, he was like very upset. But she's an 8, yeah, minimum candidate. It happens. It happens. So I have a question.
Mhm.
Like, are we getting one of your followers right now?
Yeah, I've just randomly selected somebody called Behruz. So Behruz, congratulations. I've just sent the message to Behruz. So while we're waiting for him, feel free to ask away.
A lot of students are very stressed about paraphrasing each word because this bullet point is on 7 and 8, as far as I remember. Paraphrase is used as required, something like that. As far as I understand, it's when you tell a story and you have a word you don't remember or you have to explain because I do wakeboarding, not all people, even Russians, don't know what that is. Of course, I have to explain that it's a water sport and there is a cable and there are plastic obstacles and we do different tricks and there is a special board with bindings adjusted to it. So I have to explain it. So this is kind of paraphrasing as far as I understand. But students think that if the question goes like, um, what are the reasons, or maybe why do people like watching comedy shows? And they have to paraphrase this question. They can't repeat. They can't say people like watching comedy shows. They say individuals admire viewing comedies because so could you please navigate me here? Like,
Yeah.
because I don't know how to explain it to students. Like I say, it's nonsense.
So
You don't have to paraphrase each word.
yeah, a lot of candidates think that paraphrasing means not using the same words that are in the question. Now, sometimes
Yeah.
if we have really long questions, we don't want candidates to repeat everything back, right? Like, what did you do in the summer of 2009? Well, in the summer of 2009, I mean, that's okay. I actually think that's okay. Sometimes there are long questions and candidates as a hack try to just repeat the language of the question. Too much of that can be noticeable and can demonstrate lack of flexibility, but that's not what we mean when we talk about paraphrasing. You're absolutely right when in your definition of paraphrasing. At a band 5 or at a band 4, what happens is Behruz is joining, and I will allow him in a moment. Behruz, I will let you in just a moment. What band 4s do is they come across a word, they don't know the word, and then they stop speaking because they don't know the word. Band 5s will try to paraphrase that word, but with mixed success. Band 6s will be generally successful, but with some slips, band 7s, 8 and 9, they can paraphrase. When we forget words, when we but also, exactly like you mentioned, context. Not everybody knows what wakeboarding is. When I say I'm from Wales, I might need to say, it's a part of the United Kingdom, because not everybody knows what Wales is. Understanding that nuance of explain, like saying what something is in more words, which is paraphrasing, that's what we mean with paraphrasing. Yeah.
Yes.
You're exactly right. You're absolutely right.
Thank you.
It is not about mechanically finding
I was
synonyms for
really
the question.
confused, like, what is this? Use this paraphrase as required, something. I don't remember the exact wording. Okay, Behruz, hi.
Hello. Do you mind if I won't be turning on my camera? I just don't want to.
I guess it's okay. I mean, I didn't specifically say. Okay, fine. We'll live with it. That's okay. Behruz, can you tell us something about yourself?
My name is Behruz. I am a teenager and I'm not an adult yet. So I've been watching your videos for quite a while now, and I really like how you just provide this uh, availability, or just enable students to know their scores for free, even though they're not always guaranteed to get a free mock test with you.
Yeah, there's. I always make the point that there's only one Glyn, and there's. I think like almost 14,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is not a lot, but it's more than one Glyn. So I try to be. I try to give people a chance, but unfortunately, not everyone can get them. But I thank you for the support. That's really kind. I think there is a lot of trash content out there, and I don't speak for all examiners. I don't like it when people say like, how do the examiners interpret this, or what does the examiner feel in this situation? Examiners are different, and in my videos, I just want to show, okay, I'm an examiner. This is how I evaluate language. Do with that what you want. But I'm glad that you appreciate that. Can you tell us something about your plans with IELTS? You said you're a teenager. Are you planning to take IELTS sometime soon, or is it like a long-term future goal?
I am actually planning to take my IELTS test in a matter of few months, and my current IELTS score is 7.5 with a 7 in IELTS speaking. I took my last test, I think, a month ago or something, if I'm not mistaken, and I feel like they gave me a wrong score, if I could say so, because obviously these cases happen, and I don't want to um what I'm essentially trying to say is that it feels like as if this examiner gave me the score that I didn't deserve. I was hoping for a higher score, honestly, but it's fine.
Yeah, I've never heard an IELTS candidate say that they didn't get the score they deserved because they were much higher, although it does happen from time to time. I don't know. I mean, without listening to exactly your performance, I can't make any judgment on that. I would say, in general, for students and for candidates, I would say, don't blame examiners for giving you the wrong score. Focus on what you can do better. Although sometimes it does happen. I know many, many cases where people got really lower scores than they should have got. But also 7.5, or getting 7 in speaking, that's still really impressive for a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You might not know this, but there's this one girl from Uzbekistan, and she's currently, I think, the youngest IELTS niner in the entire world, or maybe at least in Asia. And one day, maybe I might get to the same level as she is.
Why do you want a 9?
I want 9 to prove myself that I can achieve what I want, and I don't really need a 9. I just want to get this to prove myself to myself.
I would say do other things that prove yourself to yourself, like start a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I have some other extracurriculars too, apart from learning English.
Yeah, examiners don't like giving 9, and there are many, many reasons why this happens. But, a very, 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 very tiny percentage of people actually get a 9. Some people think they need a band 9 to be like a good teacher. And honestly, I would definitely take a teacher with band 8 and teaching skills over someone with band 9 and no teaching skills. I don't think it's ever worth it to push for the 9. If someone gets a band 8 or 8.5, I would say you've completed IELTS, well done. I know people who spend so much time and energy obsessed with this 9. Of course, it's cool that you're ambitious and you have that goal, but if you fall a little bit short and just get 8, 8.5, you should be happy with that.
Yeah, it's true. I agree with you.
Arina, anything to add to Behruz's comments before I ask him some part 1 questions?
Well, it was not really clear. You want to prove yourself to yourself, or you want to compete with that girl who got a 9? So sometimes, I mean, it's okay. I do competitive sports, so it's even better when I have someone I have to beat, and it's like it drives you, it motivates you. But doing this, don't forget that English is for certain purposes. It's not only for 9s in IELTS. It's for
Yeah,
studying, it's for going abroad, it is for, you know, work.
I
Yeah.
want to the US one day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Absolutely.
All right, for the sake of time, I'm going to throw some questions at you, Behruz. Just part 1 IELTS speaking questions. And remember, we're not looking for a poet. We're not looking for a genius speech deliverer or a storyteller or anything like that. We're looking to see if you can do human things with language. Are you ready to answer your questions, Behruz?
I hope I am.
Cool. Arina, I'll go to you for feedback as soon as he's done, and then I'll add a little bit on top. Okay, Behruz. So let's start by talking about what you do. Do you work or do you study?
I'm currently a student and I'm a ninth grader. Apart from school, I have some extracurriculars such as programming and English.
What's your favorite subjects at school?
Well, I'm really passionate about mathematics since I've been in love with this subject for quite a long now. I first found my interest in this subject when I was in middle school, and then I just did my best.
And do you prefer to study alone or with other people?
I prefer studying alone at peace because I don't want distractions and I wouldn't want someone to be talking to me while I'm studying.
Mhm. And what would you like to do when you finish school?
Uh, if I'll finish school, then I'll probably try to apply for a job. And if I won't be able to get a job, then I'll maybe give it a shot once again. And if it won't work too, then I'll just apply for a college.
Mhm.
That's just my last resort.
Thank you. Let's talk about your free time now. What do you usually do in your free time?
In my leisure time, I play chess because I find chess really interesting. And because it's a strategic game, I just think for a long time, make smart moves, and confuse my opponents.
And do you prefer to spend your free time indoors or outdoors?
Preferably indoors. I'm just not really an outdoors person, if I say so, because staying indoors helps me relax and I just feel much better if I'm at home rather than somewhere outside.
And how did you spend your free time when you were a young child?
When I was younger, most of the time I'd be playing video games with my friends online and just swearing a lot in group chats, which is kind of sad because I could have used my time more wisely, but I only realized it as I grew up and became more mature.
Now let's talk about interesting views. Are there any places with a nice view where you live?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Some that I could think of are probably our metro stations because they're wonderful. Uh, some that I could name would probably be Alisher Navai metro station. It's really beautiful, and its architectural design is wonderful because it was built back in 20th
Thank
century.
you.
And
Thank you. What's the best view you've ever seen?
Um, it's a tough one because there are many views that I would essentially consider beautiful or the best, but I think once when I went to the Dubai's tallest building, I loved it. I also took a lot of pictures there with my friend.
And have you ever tried to draw or paint a place with a nice view?
No, because I am really bad at painting. I hated painting since I was a child. I tried my best, but it just didn't work for me, and I gave up on my dream of becoming an artist one day. I had a lot of dreams when I was younger.
Thank you. That is the end of the test. Before we go to Arina's feedback, Behruz, how are you feeling?
I am feeling a bit nervous. I think too nervous for just a mock test.
Well, it's difficult. Any type of test, even when we hear the word test, things physiologically happen to us. Our palms get sweaty, our voice gets really dry sometimes. It can be really, really difficult. You didn't sound nervous. You sounded fairly comfortable. We will go to Arina's feedback first, and then I'll add something hopefully at the end.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your answers. Yeah, your English level is amazing for a ninth grader, absolutely. And you probably like you learned a lot of phrases and you use them automatically, like I'm really passionate about. I found interest in. Um, I decided to give it a shot. It feels these are great phrases. They're used appropriately, but to me personally, it felt like um, I don't know.
Like a
We are
candidate,
talking
right?
about vocabulary here, but I think the problems with connected speech affected the message. You have great pronunciation, great control with vowels, but sometimes intonation contours are used not really appropriately, and it might affect the meaning. And it sounds a little bit robotic and like you are, I don't know, you are reading it, you are reading a script. I felt this. um, Maybe you need more time working with intonation because it's a very subtle thing. Sometimes you can offend people with intonation without even noticing it, without even knowing. And if you use a lot of I decided to give it a shot, it's like it sounds very intense. But sometimes, I don't know, it's like you're doing this with mixed success. Sometimes you sound like a native speaker. Sometimes you're doing this like you're splitting the words, but I don't know why you're doing this. It seems like maybe you have something in front of you and you are reading this, or it's like you were trained to answer this way. I guess so. But it sounds amazing. It's definitely a 7 for vocab right now, but we don't have part 1 and part 2. I don't know. But for me, it sounds like a solid 7. It's not because you had told us before about this, but for an 8, mm, I can't. It just pronunciation affects this. I can't assess just vocabulary here. And Glyn, this is my question here as a teacher and as someone who assesses speaking sessions. I feel like we look at the language, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, pronunciation as like one solid thing. And in this case, I can't do this. I can't just assess vocabulary because it's being affected by connected speech and intonation. Like, what is this?
Yeah. So there's a term called jagged profile, right? And IELTS examiners are always instructed to avoid jagged profiles. That means we don't want to see jagged profile means like pronunciation is a 9, but lexical resource is a 6. We don't want to see big differences. We're not supposed to have that. There should be reasonably the same. Sometimes it does happen, but they are all connected, right? So if we talk about the mechanical delivery of Behruz's speech, I agree Behruz is a very, very solid user of English. For a 9th grader, you should be so impressed by your level of English. You're probably the best user of English in your school by a mile, probably. However, it is noticeable that there is mechanical delivery of speech. So, and I'll try to copy what I hear, and I don't mean this to like make fun, but if the question is like, what food do you like? Your answers are a little bit like, I really enjoy Chinese cuisine, because for me, Chinese cuisine is absolutely delicious, and I, from time to time, have been known to go to Chinese restaurants and order the best thing on the menu there. Now, what's causing that mechanical speech? I don't know. One thing that might be causing it is that vocab isn't readily available. Sometimes people slow down and become more mechanical when they are thinking of the next word. I don't think you have big problems accessing that vocabulary, but they can be connected. Fluency, pronunciation, and vocab can be really, really connected in that way. IELTS examiners also only have the task of getting the overall score right. It doesn't matter how they get there. I might award someone 6, 7, 8, 9. Someone else might award it 9, 8, 7, 6, but they come out with the same mark, and that's all that they care about. Sometimes you have a tendency to tell me that something is wonderful, right? Cool that the subway station is wonderful. What I want you to do is to explain to me why it's wonderful, or cool that you can talk about something being interesting, like you said, chess is interesting, and you did go into a bit more detail explaining that, it's a strategic game and that's why you like it. But again, I would expect more depth. I would expect from a band 8 or band 9, I would expect a little bit more depth about explaining, why strategic games are enjoyable for you. So I definitely put you in that like band 7. I don't think you're less than a 7. I think you are a C1 user of English. If you feel like the examiner marked you wrongly before, I would probably disagree. I think 7.5 is probably where your level is. And I will also make the point that even though this girl was the youngest niner, great, C2 users of English should have equal vocab skills as an educated native speaker, or L1 user. Because you're in the 9th grade, IELTS isn't for you. You can take IELTS and you can get a good mark in IELTS, but there's always going to be, a 25-year-old with a C2 language level is going to get a better mark in IELTS than a 9th grader with a C2 level. So I think for your age, you're maxing out, right? You're really maxing out and you're doing a great job. But in the IELTS test, you're closer to a 7 than an 8 for me.
Okay.
I loved your response about swearing, though. That was awesome.
That was very natural and not like, it sounded really natural, and cool. Keep it up.
Yeah, it sounds sometimes like we can be critical, right? And I want to make the point that C1 is amazing. Like having C1 in another language. How old is a 9th grader in Uzbekistan?
I think like 15-ish, close to 16.
Yeah, so to have that language level at your age is absolutely phenomenal. And I think by the time that you're 18, I think you'll get the 9. If you really, really want it, I wouldn't worry about it. But by the time that you're 18, you'll be in a much better position, just in terms of, developing your communication skills, not just your English skills, but developing communication skills, growing as a human. Obviously, 15, 16, you sound mature, you sound like an adult. But as you continue growing up and getting older and having more life experience, you will find that your communication skills naturally get better, and probably that slightly robotic, mechanical.
Great. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Do you have any questions or any? Nope. Oh, okay. Well, thank you for joining, Behruz, and best of luck to you in the future.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Um,
Well,
a very strong candidate. I've
very
had many
strong.
situations where like I was asked in the past by parents to like prepare a 14 or a 15-year-old for like CAE and CPE, and I refused to take them. I said, no,
Oh
it's
my
not for
God,
you.
no,
Don't
no.
don't touch CPE or even CAE. They're like FCE for schools. I thought that was nice that they have those teenage things that are adapted tests. It seems weird to me, Arina, that so many young people, 14, 15, they're preparing for IELTS. Is it a good way to improve language skills to prepare for IELTS?
If I have a message saying, I want to improve my level of English, that's why I want to prepare for IELTS and just take it for no reason. I mean, for this, I refuse to prepare this person because like uh, language learning is very different from exam preparation. Exam preparation is what you have right now, and we are just practicing speaking, learning what you have to show in writing, and you know, tips and tricks with listening and reading, understanding, timing, exam skills. Come on. So it's not about language learning. Yeah, it's about exam skills, and it's a little bit tricky with teenagers because even though there could be smart people and they can get 9s and 8.5s at this age, I think that some questions in IELTS they are designed um, for this cognitive load and to see what candidates can show. But since young people lack this life experience, sometimes they just don't know what to say and they start rambling, and so yeah, and then they get upset because they didn't get 8s and 9s. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know what would like a 15 or 16-year-old Glyn say in response to like what makes someone a good boss. I
Yes, yes, and
don't know.
um, there was like one example of I wanted somebody told me that some examiners, again, they're people, they're different. Um, Before they start the test, they check your passport and they see that you're a teenager. Sometimes they might be a little bit like, all right, it's a teenager, 7 maximum. Sometimes some examiners do this, right? And when teenagers ask me, like, how can I get an 8 or an 8.5 for speaking? I say, I don't know. Even though they have really great language skills, I don't know how they respond to questions like what makes a good boss, or um, who should make big decisions apart from the government. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched a video fairly recently with like a teenage girl who got a band 9, and I definitely didn't think her performance was a band 9, but she did get the band 9. So I'm not sure. I mean, examiners should just measure the language. That's all they're there to do. Even though they can look at the passport, they can see your age. It might influence them a little bit. It shouldn't. We have to be objective with the
Yes.
language that we hear. So some teenagers certainly have got higher marks, but yeah, if you're a teenager, if you're 15, don't, I can't see any reason why you would need IELTS apart from external pressure. The school says you need to take it, or your parents say you need to take it. To those parents, I'd say, don't do that to your kid. If you want your kid to learn English, then don't prepare them for an adult exam. Encourage them to learn English. Shall we take? We've been going for an hour and a half. Do you want to take one more candidate from your channel?
Um, there is a girl, Katya, but I texted her and she says that she can't reply my message, and she texted me here. Can I share the link
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then delete it? She joins and then I'll delete it because it will be on my chat. Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
is that okay? Okay, all
We might
right.
get a million people coming in, but that's fine. We'll be okay. While you're doing that, I'll just have a look at the chat. Not many
Yes.
people. Camila is in the chat, quite active. I think she mentioned that she got 8.5 without using any idioms. Amazing, really good to see. And she
Yes.
got 9 in lexical resource. Absolutely incredible to get 9. Oh, Lemanzolo. I think I ban Lemanzolo. I don't know, but he says thanks, man. It got 8 overall watching your videos, so that's really, really nice. Congratulations. IELTS has been turned into a competition and is ruining some kids. Yeah, it's
Said this. Oh, I love you.
that's Camilla again. Yeah, it's
Camilla.
true. This competitiveness of like, Uzbekistan is famous for that, like niners and things like this, and it's like social credibility or something. Katya's just joining us now, so I'll let her in.
Yep, perfect. Hi, Katya.
Hi, I'm sorry if it's a mess because I don't know. I actually I see the message in my DMs, but for some
Yeah.
reason I cannot reply. It doesn't go through, so
Maybe something is wrong with my settings. I don't know, but I texted you. I was waiting for your reply, no reply. I was like, oh, I started panicking. And then thank you for replying on my chat, on my channel. Thank you.
fine.
Yeah,
Hello, hi everyone.
nice to see you, Kade. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for taking me.
I see that your name's written as Yekaterina. Do you prefer Yekaterina or Katya or?
No, Katya, Kate is okay.
Okay, cool.
Know that they ask you. I know that they ask you this at IELTS
What should I
speaking.
call you?
Yeah. You can call me Kate.
Yeah, some people really extend that answer, like, oh, I was named after, and it's like, no, it's not part of the test. Don't need it.
Yeah, easy.
Thank you for being brave and joining us on the stream. Even though there are not like a crazy number of viewers, it still can be quite a nerve-wracking experience to speak to a stranger. I don't know how well you know Arina. Sometimes people are absolutely fine doing it. Other times people aren't. Can you just tell us something about yourself, Katya? I guess you're an English teacher.
I am an English teacher. I teach not like higher levels. So I took IELTS a couple of months ago, and I'm pretty much satisfied with the result. I got 8 overall, but yeah, but like I kind of failed speaking, or at least I thought so, just like Behruz. I felt like I was majorly underestimated by the examiner. But then on this during the same trip, I spoke to a native speaker, and actually it was the biggest reality check regarding my speaking. I was basically put in my place, and yeah. So but I didn't have much time to prepare for it, to be honest. So I concentrated on writing and receptive skills, and that's what got me to 8 overall. Yeah, and I suck at speaking. My vocabulary, I don't have any like juicy vocabulary. I didn't read anything about like vocabulary lists or tips or strategies, or later on I figured that there is some list of real questions that you can get like on the real exam.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I didn't know about that. I didn't prepare for it. I didn't actually bother. So the only advice that I got, I think even from Arina's channel, is that just be natural. Just like go there, answer the questions naturally, and that's it. So that was my story. And now I'm thinking that maybe sometime in the future, if I prepare for speaking properly, like enlarge my vocabulary and everything, like maybe it can get better. But my speaking was 7.5, and
It's great.
it was fine. I'm happy with it. Especially, after I had this conversation, and I was a reality check, as I said.
You definitely sound higher than 7.5.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I put you in the 8.5 bracket immediately.
Yeah.
Where did you take the test?
Yerevan was a great experience. I loved
With Mark?
Well, there was a really handsome looking American examiner. That's the only thing I know. I think he called himself something other than Mark.
Maybe no. Because there is one guy there. Yeah, Glenn.
There is like all the girls were obsessed with him, and I wasn't nervous before the exam, but like
Maybe
it was
why you
it
got
was a nice.
seven
Well,
point five.
no, I mean I was nervous after all in general, and also like with the third part when
Having a
he
crush on
started.
examiner.
Maybe just a little, maybe a little, but also like when he started, I kind of failed the second part, and when he started asking me difficult questions, in the third part, and from the first question, I failed it. I was basically answering like, yeah, right. And I knew that like he gave me the chance for a higher score.
Yes.
And I knew right
True.
there, like it was a good sign, but I knew I wasted that chance completely. And yeah, I got upset already during the test.
Hmm.
It's
What was this conversation that put you in your place?
I mean, it was like a small talk later, not during the exam, with a native speaker, and it was just about regular things like backgrounds, experiences, and everything. And I felt like my vocabulary is like insufficient, not enough. I wanted to tell more. I wanted to express my ideas like in a better way, but with a native speaker, like I felt this gap between us, and I was like, okay, 7.5 is actually right
Sometimes
where
that happens to me. I mean, English is my first language, but sometimes I have conversations where I'm not totally on it, and sometimes I don't manage to express myself as clearly as I would like. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't. And I think we all have that when we're speaking a second language. We always feel like we'd like to be able to do something a little bit more. I don't know, Arina, do you ever feel like that? Do you ever feel like it's like I wish I could just say this thing clearly?
All the time. All the time. I don't know, like I'm a creative person and it's really hard for me to say there are two things for this. One of them, well, I taught myself doing this, and IELTS taught me this in terms of writing, to stick to the topic and develop your ideas clearly, deliver your messages clearly. And thanks to IELTS, I'm doing this. Even in my native language, I sometimes like it's B2 now, I guess, because I don't use Russian for, I don't know, academic speaking or just anything formal. It's just, hey, how are you? Something like that, conversation with friends. That's it. And that's usually, slang. And yeah, that's really bad. And I have a lot of fillers and I don't like it. I want to sound like a smart person. In English, I have a lot of fillers I would like to get rid of. And yeah, so I ramble a lot. So, but I have an idea. I want to record videos in English with some, discussing different topics, everyday topics, and teach myself, deliver my thoughts in 1 minute clearly without any fillers, and yeah, so just working on my pronunciation and all that kind of stuff. So, but like with Ekaterina, I think you didn't have any preparation with speaking at all.
whatsoever.
Sometimes we need a couple of sessions just to warm up, just to know, just to, you know, get an idea of what it looks like. That's why you panned out, like in part 3, you were like, I don't know what to say, what? So, but if you knew, I think, yeah, it would have been
I
better.
didn't want to also I saw this only advice, and I didn't want to over prepare because I didn't want to overthink it.
Yes, sometimes, yeah,
There was enough of overthinking
with the
for other
writing.
skills for writing. I
Yeah.
actually thought I thought that I would fail writing, and speaking would actually like save the overall score. It was vice versa. It was the actual opposite. So I'm really
Did you get
thankful.
8 for writing?
No, no, I got 7.5 for writing. I didn't
Nice,
expect that.
nice, nice. Well
I
done.
got lucky.
And do apply for the scores breakdown. We need to see where maybe it's just 7,888, maybe.
I
And
did. I
oh,
actually did,
what's
but
you don't remember?
I don't remember. I looked at the letter. I was like, does it matter now?
It matters.
There you
Okay.
go.
If you have only 1 7 and 3 8s, it's 7.5. It's
Mm,
very close to an 8. So it's, yeah, IELTS is very cruel. If you have 2 7s, 2 8s, 1 7, 3 8s, it's still 7.5.
got
But
it.
if we compare different 7.5s, these people are going to be very different and sound
All
like,
right.
yeah, so you are not a 7.5 candidate. Mhm.
Ask me something. Let's find out.
All right. I forgot who went. I think I went last. Do you want to ask the questions, Arina, or do you want me to
Yeah,
ask them?
and you give the assessment,
Mhm.
give feedback.
Sure.
Okay. So let's first of all talk about what you do. Do you work or study?
I work. I work as a teacher. Um, I used to
Okay.
work as a teacher in a state school, and then I became self-employed. I think it's the usual path for online teachers in Russia. So now I am an English teacher.
Uh-huh. And how long have you been doing this kind of work?
Since I graduated, and which makes it 8 years now.
Okay. How busy are you at work?
Not at all. Um, yeah, this is the I'm not busy, but this is the work-life balance thing that I would like to improve um, in the direction of work more, not like all other people are searching to find more life in their work-life balance. So for me, it's quite the opposite. I need to work more
Okay. And have you ever thought about changing your profession?
all the time. Since I started working with adults, it's been a roller coaster for me professionally, and I don't know, like I meet a lot of people from different professions, and their hard skills are quite different, and I have to find out about their jobs, what they do. Everything seems so interesting to me. So I like once in 6 months, I find myself thinking, oh, maybe I should shift to this sphere as well. It sounds really interesting for me.
Okay. So let's move on and talk about music. What kind of music do you like most?
Um, I can call myself polyamorous. That's a joke. I prefer all sorts of music. Um, all the genres. My Spotify Wrapped would probably tell me I am mental. I'm crazy. But this year I listened more to rock, alternative rock, metal. Sounds nice.
Okay. Where and when do you usually listen to music?
Um, I use Spotify, but whenever I am at home, I have music in the background from my Alisa speaker. Yeah, so my headphones when I'm in the underground, so whenever I get the chance.
Okay. And how do you discover new music to listen to?
That's a big problem for me because now I'm kind of stuck with all the genres and all the bands and artists that I already like. So I'm trying to find some new names, new songs, new directions, but it's difficult for me because Spotify, again, it like if you try to search for something, if you try to discover something more, you open this radio by track thing, and it gives you everything that you already liked, at least like 70% of it. So now I actually do not discover anything new.
And do you prefer listening to live music or recorded music?
Um, I can say I prefer listening to live music, but I do listen to recorded music more often.
And why do you like live music more?
I come from a musical family. My dad is a musician, so growing up, I heard a lot of live music, different instruments, different like bands and events and everything. I used to sing myself, so
Wow.
this is like it kind of hits home for me all the time.
Hmm. Let's move on and talk about losing things. Do you often lose things?
Not really. I don't even own much things. I'm a minimalist, so I don't lose things. I prefer to keep my mind focused on the things that I can lose, like my phone or my wallet. My mind is always like there's like invisible thread leading to something that I carry.
Mhm. And when did you last lose something important?
I cannot even recall. Seriously, recently my friend lost her phone,
Huh.
and it was big stress for us both. We were trying to find it, locate it, whatever, and maybe that's the closest I can get to it. Not me, but my close friends.
Okay. And what item would you least want to lose?
Probably my phone. I think about it quite often, actually, despite the fact that I don't. I, I'm not prone to lose things, but I'm always afraid to lose my phone. First of all, it's kind of expensive. I don't want to buy it again. And
Mhm.
of course, I have everything there. My whole life is there.
Okay. And have you ever found a lost item in a public place?
Mm, oh, maybe a glove.
Okay.
Yeah, or an umbrella. Like I can leave it, but then I have to go back and it's still there because nobody's interested in taking it.
All right. Thank you. This is the end of the test.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cool. First question I want to ask you, Katya, how do you feel about the topics that came up? Were any of the questions particularly tricky?
No, actually, they were quite kind of fun. I don't know. How did I do? The questions were nice. I know that there is a typical question about what do you do, something about work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Familiar.
always think like, should I go on? Should I tell more? I don't know, go into details or sh- shut up and wait for another question.
So usually the question, do you work or do you study? That's only to determine the next set of questions for the examiner. So the examiner will have like, if work, then this, if study, then this. So there's no guidance. IELTS examiners are not told what responses should or shouldn't be. If I was doing the test and someone said, do you work or do you study? I'd say, I work. I'm an English teacher. And I would leave it there. And then I would,
That's
because
all I wanted to say.
because we don't want to say I work as an English teacher and I've been doing this for a long time and I really like it because I get to meet a lot of interesting people. And then the next question is, how long have you been doing this job? And it's like, I've already said that. What do you like about it? I've already said that. So we don't want to answer the examiner's questions before. So, of course, people always say, develop your answers, develop your answers, develop your answers. Not all answers. What's your name? Fine. What should I call you? Fine. What do you do? Do you work or are you a student? I'm a student. I study economics. Cool. And so short answers like that are fine. I did feel like your first answer was probably your weakest answer, where it felt a little bit like it was. I don't think you would. There was difficulty in your voice, in your speaking, but it felt a little bit disorganized, a little bit chaotic. Just that first response. I thought everything else was amazing. You're higher than 7.5. There's no doubt about it that you're higher than 7.5. I wouldn't bet money because I don't trust examiners that much, but in an absolutely fair assessment, if you could be assessed by like 20 examiners and then we got the average score, you'd be higher than 7.5, no doubt about it. Really, really love, like, sometimes you use non-precise language like stuff and things, like it's like a work-life balance thing. And then you went on to explain how you want more work than life, which I thought, you really, really do a great job of explaining your thoughts. I'm amazed that you had that conversation with the native speaker and you couldn't express your thoughts because you were so clear. All of your responses were super clear. I love your creative use of polygamorous. It took me a second to get the joke. Thanks for
I stole it.
Thanks for letting me know that it's a joke. I appreciate that. If I had to be like hypercritical about something, I think there were two instances where you said like I'm mental, and then you said, I'm crazy, and then later you said we had to find it or locate it. Now I think you do this because you're a teacher, and when you're speaking to your students, you might want to use mental and then use crazy to signal to your students, hey, mental means crazy. I'm an examiner. I don't need you to explain to me that mental means crazy. I already know that. And it sounds like you're using a teaching technique in the test. Again, that's only if I'm being hyper pedantic. I loved stuff like it's been a roller coaster for me. And then you added that like adverb professionally. I thought that was really, really natural. I think you said like once in 6 months, where maybe once every 6 months is probably a bit more appropriate. I think you said much things instead of many things. I'm absolutely okay with much things. I'm okay with that. I see no problem with it. Technically, it's a mistake, but it's okay. I would certainly be putting you, if this was, so as I mentioned before, when in part one, I'm usually putting people into categories and trying to establish like floors or ceilings. You think like, okay, they're about a 6 or they're about a 7. I would be very, very curious to see how you do in part 2 and part 3, because I think your vocab is at the highest levels. It's, 8 or 9, maybe just a slight inappropriacies at times, but I'd be very, very curious to see what you're capable of in part 2 and part 3, and whether you can talk about abstract topics. You were certainly in contention for a 9, maybe an 8. I'd need to hear more from you. Just taking a look at my notes, trying to see if there's anything else there. I love the way that you described Spotify, and you said like they have this like rated by track thing, and you were using that imprecise language really, really, really well. Imprecise language is weird, right? Because you think like, okay, you need to be precise at all times, but sometimes we do use non-specific language, like that type of thing or something like that, or kind of a thing, and you make really, really good natural use of that. When we think about the differences between bands 9, 8, and 7, we think of it like band 7s, they have a wide range of vocab. They can talk about a variety of topics. Band 8s can talk about all topics, so they're really, really good. Like they have a very wide resource. They're very good talking about all types of topics. And then the band 9, they don't have wide, they have deep about all topics. And that's what I want to understand. That will be the differentiator for me in part 2 and part 3. You have a very, very wide range of vocab, no doubt about it. But I'd love to see like how deep that range is when you get into part 3, when you have to concede points, or when you're challenged, or you have to express agreement, or you have to predict. I want to see how deep that vocab is. But in terms of part 1, absolutely incredible. Loved the natural responses. I've been talking a lot. Arina, I don't know if you have something to add.
No, like incredible performance. And I guess like I want to see your scores breakdown, okay? If you can send it or share with me if you like something is wrong with my Telegram, I don't know. Like, but I want to see which where you have 7s and where you have 8s. But I guess it's 7, 8, 8, 8. I think so.
I'll try to send it sometime.
Yeah, I like the range, and so it's so natural, so it feels like you are interacting with a person, not a robot, and not like someone who I mean, there's nothing wrong with learning certain phrases. We do this with students between 6.5 and 7. But with higher level candidates like Katya, you just have to speak like this. Yeah, yeah. So it's great. It's great natural, but like I wasn't okay. So there was some I was laughing, but I wasn't supposed to. Examiners should should be no emotions, no judgment or saying good, bad. No, just and moving on. I was laughing at your answer. Did you lose anything? Something like that? Like, have you ever lost a thing, or something like that? And then you said, I don't even own many
Yeah.
things. That was hilarious.
Actually,
So,
yeah, this is the point. Also, I get a little confused about if so I want to answer honestly. I don't
yes,
want to make up any things. So what if I don't lose things? Or what if I don't have
just
yeah, what
say
if I don't work much? Like what if I don't have an opinion about that? Uh,
say this. You are still
okay.
showing off your language. I mean, you still show fluency, pronunciation, vocabulary. So
It's
you
just
are
that
reacting like a regular person. Of course, if you answer every question like that, I don't know what to
yeah.
say. Yeah, it's off. No, don't do this. But sometimes if we don't know what to say, we just say, I don't lose things.
Mm.
So I'm that kind of person who stays vigilant about everything. So I'm super cautious when it comes to, I double check my phone's keys. So I still show some vocabulary here. Yeah.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with saying that I don't lose things or I don't like music because it makes me sad because I'm anxious. I don't like
Mhm.
maybe loud noises in general. That's okay. What do you think, Glenn?
Oh yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
absolutely. I think there's always, like, if we think of development, there's always a space for development, right? So I'm not the type of person who loses things. Why is that? Like, have you always been like that? Were you like that as a child? Is this something that you are by nature? Is it something that was taught to you by someone? Maybe you're the opposite of a friend or a sibling and they lose things all the time. I think I really liked how you pivoted to your friend, right? So you said, I didn't lose something, but my friend lost her phone. That's natural development. So yeah, I think you responded to that very, very well. And I would say, be honest. I know that there are people out there who say, oh, just make something up or invent a story. For me, there are often drops in coherence because when you're
Yeah.
making up a story, the details aren't always consistent. And sometimes
Yeah.
the examiners think, but you said before it was your brother, but now it's your sister? So sometimes you mix up those, people can mix up those details if they make up stories. It's always better to be honest, right? When did you last lose something? I don't know. I haven't lost anything for ages. I think, like, when I was a kid, I lost my coat and my mum was angry. I remember about that, but I'm sure I've lost something since then. But honestly, I don't know. I don't remember. And that's fine. That's a full answer.
Good to know.
Yeah. Human responses. Yeah, so much to like. I'm also curious about the breakdown. I want to see what part you got a 7. I would, like, I think Arina mentioned maybe it's 7, 8, 8, 8, and maybe in part 3 if you didn't develop maybe the fluency and coherence. If you weren't able to develop that topic, it's possible that you lost marks for fluency and coherence because topic development is required for that 8. But yeah, I'm surprised that you only got 7.5. But I will also say that 7.5 is still an amazing score. It puts you right in the middle of C1, and getting 8 overall is awesome. It puts you in the top, I don't know, like 10% of English users who take IELTS. I don't know the exact statistics, but something like that.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for your feedback.
I want to
It's
ask.
good to know.
I want to ask you a question, Katya. How do you feel about teaching English to lower level learners? Because I know sometimes a lot of people feel like their English skills stagnate because, they're constantly teaching, present simple or farmyard
Yeah.
animals or things like that. And they don't have that opportunity to get better at English. Do you feel like you have enough opportunities to, like,
Exactly. This is the problem. I usually feel like whenever I have more lessons with, like, let's say intermediate, upper intermediate students, and then it gets to beginners, I feel like, oh, what are, do we get to talk about some certain things? No. Yeah, and I kind of miss that. But also, at this point, I do sometimes feel like my level would not be enough to teach higher level students. So it's also like there is room for development for me personally as a teacher. So I would like to grow there to have an opportunity to expand. Um,
One thing I'm very lucky with, and I don't think it's fair, but obviously English being my first language, I don't really get. I still get it from time to time, but I don't get people challenging my level. And I want to ask both of you: is that something that you feel as L2 users of English? How much do you doubt yourselves, and do you have students who say things like, "Oh, well, I heard it on a TV show," or "My friend is a native speaker and they said that I can use this"? Do you ever have moments like this? How do you deal with
I
them?
do get a lot. I'm chill about it. I do have girls, like students, who are on TikTok and like on social media much more than me. Some of them are even uh, they do that professionally. So they bring this vocabulary to me that I do not know at all. And I learn from them. I'm okay with that. I actually do enjoy it.
Yeah, I still I don't know what no cap means. People say things
You see?
I don't know. Arina, how do you deal with it? And do you ever have that situation where people challenge you because English isn't your first language?
Yeah. Well, I always, mm, I don't know, like it's really this, you mentioned this, how do you teach low level students? And I don't want to be disrespectful, but at a certain point, I stopped doing so many years ago because I felt like my level was sliding because of that. Because I used to be a dancer and I can copy people's movement, people's manners, and I copy mistakes just unconsciously, just that I'm doing this all the time. And now I'm trying to teach B2, C1 students, but I still like feel like that I have room for improvement. We as teachers, we don't have that much time for our language because we have a lot of lessons. We prepare for lessons. I'm always grading essays or recording feedback for essays and charts and so on. And it's really hard in this kind of environment. Plus, I used to go to America every year, and now with all the visit restrictions, I don't do this. And it was way easier for me when I have just, when I speak to Americans, and I develop my language skills. And now, well, I have YouTube, I have Instagram and TikTok. No, I don't have TikTok, but I have Instagram. That's it. So, but I'm okay when students ask me about something that I don't know, and we discover this together. That's okay. Sometimes, like, we can't know everything, and I think it's okay. It's okay. But I would love to grow. Some people say, like, I still have teachers, one British teacher and one American teacher. And the American teacher says that you don't need to learn English. Learn Spanish, learn French. Why would you, why would you do this? Like, your English is great, but I don't know. I don't know. I have to maintain this level. It's also a lot of work. When you reach a certain level, you have to maintain it. If I don't do this, I slide immediately. Like this New Year's break, yeah, I didn't speak for 3 days. And I was like, oh, what? Even now, I feel very nervous speaking spontaneously, and I'm nervous about my mistakes and so on. And I know that a lot of people are going to watch this and say, oh, she made a mistake. Yeah, so, but this is my second language. That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, just like my friends, they cheered me up after I got this reality check. And they're
Yeah.
like, "You were speaking to this native speaker just because that was the language that they knew." You both knew. Well, you know, but yeah, sometimes you have to remind yourself that. But in the teaching sphere and the professional sphere, of course, you have to be really good.
Cool. This
Yeah.
turned into a bit of a conversation about teaching rather than
Right.
IELTS, but that's absolutely
Yeah.
fine. Do you have any questions for either of us, Katya, before we disappear?
Me? No,
Yeah.
I want to thank you both. Thank you for this amazing feedback
you.
and thank you for having me, even though it was problematic a little.
No,
Yeah,
that's
I hope
okay.
we didn't have any intruders here on the conversation.
No. Yeah.
What do we call this conference? Sorry, guys.
Well, thanks for being brave and being a candidate. And yeah, I hope like you got your 8 in IELTS. I know Arina wants to see your breakdown, but if you're happy with the 8, move on and forget about IELTS until you prepare students for it. You probably
Good.
never need to worry about this exam again.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys and best of luck.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So many. We had 3 really strong candidates today. I kind of miss the band 6s and the band 5.5s. That's really. I like giving feedback to those people because that's where you see like people can make noticeable improvements at that level. And when people get to like 8, 8.5, and they think, well, how do I get better? It's like maybe you've maxed out there. Maybe you can't do anything more. But yeah, really strong candidates.
Yes, impressive. Thank you guys for joining us and thank you, yeah, for your time. Thank you for all the comments and support you give there. I can't see the comments, sorry, but thank you. Are
Yeah.
there any questions?
So yeah, I'm taking a look now. The chat isn't as active as it has been before. Camilla's definitely very active, and then Nur Sultan is also there. There is Adeleta. Now, I don't know, but I thought Adeleta maybe is one of the commenters who always tells me that my marking is wrong. I don't know if it is Adeleta, but very often I've had that person who says, no, it's no more than a 6. This is ridiculous. I don't know if it's that same one. Daisy says English teachers doubting themselves all the time. Yeah, it's a difficult job being a teacher because you have to be so like. First of all, you have to be a language expert. You have to know everything about everything, and it's not just the case of grammar and vocab. It's also about like discourse analysis, how people communicate, and our students want us to be their friend, their psychologist, their teacher, their everything, their parent at times. Yeah, it's not always easy, and there's always going to be a question. There's always going to be a question that as a teacher throws us and we think, I don't know the answer to that question. I feel like I should, but I don't. And then we get stuck in that panic mode. Sorry, there's no question. I just wanted to say.
No questions. Okay.
It's easy to doubt yourself when you're a teacher. Saddam says we are grateful for this live lesson. Is it a lesson? I don't know. And Tauhedul official says, give me some feedback question. No. I guess we're done with candidates, unfortunately. Arina, thank you so much for this session. Again, I could probably go on for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours because I'm a long talker, but do you have any final comments or any final questions before we wrap it up?
No, thank you very much for having me and thank you for even more insights today. And thank you for feedback. A lot of things that, like, sometimes I need validation. Like, do I get this right from the band descriptors? And with this paraphrase effectively as required, thank you, because there are so many questions from students like this, and yeah, now I know what to say, and you confirmed that. Thank you. As for students, I think we should appreciate all the scores that we get. Sometimes, yes, it's unfair. Sometimes it's fair, but think of it as a competition. We could be great runners, but if we compete in a marathon, uh, like somebody will get the first prize, somebody will get the second prize. So it's like there is only one winner, and we never know how it goes. IELTS is like, if you take it many times, in some cases, like with Katya, if she retakes the test, I think she can get higher scores. In some cases, if you retake the test, you will get the same score just because you're not there yet. And it's okay. There's so much to learn. There's so much to discover. Don't just limit it to IELTS. Think of it as a great journey with your English learning, and then take the test if you want this validation, if you want this 9 or 8.5. Yeah, just there is more than that. As you said, yeah, go see your friends, go play football. So IELTS is just IELTS.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a proficiency test. That's all it is. And where can
Yeah.
people find you if my viewers are still watching and they're interested in following you? I understand that your Telegram channel is mostly Russian language based. Where can people find you?
Telegram IELTS with Tutor AF. AF stands for my initials, Arina Fadeva.
I'm sure you have to
Yeah.
explain that quite a few times. There is a link to Arina's Telegram channel in the description to this video. So if you're interested in learning more from Arina, then go and give her a follow on Telegram. I think we'll leave it there. So really pleased that we had really high level candidates. Sometimes it feels a little bit negative when you're like telling people why they're a band 7, not a band 8 or not a band 9. But for the candidates who performed, you're all absolutely incredible. Even getting a band 7 at age 15, for me, that's far more
That's
impressive than a 25-year-old getting a band 9. So yeah, really good job for all the candidates.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Glenn.
Like, follow, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. And I will see you all again